Hi everyone. Hi, welcome to CS Fireside Chat. This evening we have like three awesome gentlemen with us. I'm Manfred, Associate Director from Coinstore. With us we have Steven, Chris, and Coach. With that, I hand the time over to Steven to introduce more about himself. Steven.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hello to our viewers around the world. I'm Steve, I'm the founder and CEO of Seaplane Group. We're the biggest private jet and helicopter operator and broker in Southeast Asia. And now we'll be launching a very exciting project called the My High Roller Club NFT, luxury NFT project, starting based in Philippines and eventually rolling out across the world.
Thank you, Steven. Okay, then next we go to Chris.
Hi, Manfred. Thanks for having me. I'm Chris Montagano. I'm General Counsel of Orca. We're the largest DeFi exchange on the Solana ecosystem. We account for approximately 60 to 70% of all volume traded through Solana at the moment, and happy to be here today.
Thank you so much. Next we have Coach. Let's go to Coach now.
Thank you. Nice to be here with this awesome gentleman. My name is Coach Miranda Minor, and I'm based in the Philippines, here in Manila. I'm the founder and chief executive officer of the Global Miranda Minor Group and feastgoldinnovations.com. I am actually an educator in cryptocurrency space, blockchain, Web3, NFT, etc. And I do have a blockchain university that's actually operating online. My students are actually all around the world. They could be OFWs, contract workers overseas, etc., even domestic folks back here in the Philippines. I'm very passionate in educating, and I think this industry today needs a lot of education in all different facets. So nice to be here. Thank you again for inviting me, and it's my privilege to be here sitting with this awesome gentleman in this show. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for introducing yourself. Okay, so today the first segment we'll be actually exploring more some of the questions that I think the community would want to know. Would love to hear from your point of view. So I mean, the very first question: what are your thoughts on the current state of the crypto market, and how do you see it evolving over the next 6 months? So, what do you think about it now, and how do you see it evolving in the next 6 months? With that, perhaps we go to Steven first.
Well, of course, the crypto market is known for its volatility, right? So, we experience a significant up and down, especially with the I'm a victim of the Luna bust, then of course with FTX going bust, and then eventually now we might be experiencing a financial crisis with the Silicon Valley Bank going under and UBS buying Credit Suisse. So, of course, it is important to look at the global picture of whether we are in a recession or not. But I believe, everything has a cycle, and I don't have a crystal ball of where the market will be going in the next 6 months. But you can, either way, if you're an educated investor, you can make money either on an upcycle or in a bear market or a bull market. You just need to manage your risk carefully. But at the same time, this is a very exciting time because with the Web3 market, I believe this is like the MySpace ICQ stage, and then with the launch and release of ChatGPT from OpenAI and AI generated art, you can write a smart contract without knowing a line of code. This is really exciting times, and the important things is we need to educate institutional investors and investors, normal investors on the risk of the crypto market. A lot of people are in here to make quick money. That's where you get burned.
Right. Thank you so much for the insight. You mentioned just now like SVB and Credit Suisse, UBS, the takeover of the retail sector, the segment itself, the traditional sector. Do you think it actually give a boost in the crypto space? That is, for the past 2 days, we've seen a rise of bitcoins on the major difference itself. Do you foresee? Do you suspect this could be the issue, or what sort of hinge on that?
Well, I mean, the crypto market is linked to everyday's public, right? If you got money in real world, then of course you can diverse your investment in stock
Mm.
market and on the Web3 space and on crypto. In particular, but if they have no money in their pocket, then they need to spend, then they will liquidate their asset on the crypto market. So of course, as I said, I don't have a crystal ball of where the Bitcoin will be going in the next 6 months or in a year or so. But I still believe in the value of cryptocurrency. I invested in Bitcoin when it was 100 Bitcoin to buy a pizza. Now it's worth more than 28,000 US dollars. I wish I held on a little bit longer.
Don't we all? But anyway, thank you so much for your time and for the insight. What about you, Chris? What's your take on it? So the current crypto market and for the next 6 months, how do you think it will evolve? I mean, like ChatGPT, we have what people mentioned and stuff. What's your take on how where do you see it evolving over the next 6 months and like the innovation?
Yeah. No, I think as Steven said, crypto is a nascent and evolving industry, right? And pretty difficult to predict 1 month, let alone 6 months. But I think look, 6 months ago, it was widely accepted that FTX was a safe place to deposit and invest your capital, and that proved to not be the case. And so I think to Steven's point, the innovation continues throughout the numerous blows that we've taken as an industry over the last 12 months. I see builders continuing to exit Web2 jobs at Facebook, Google, etc., to jump into the space, which makes me very optimistic that the innovation from ChatGPT to all sorts of different areas will continue, and will increase throughout the next 6 months, whether the mini bull that we've seen the last week or so continues, or if there's another pullback. I don't see there being a material change in the commitment of developers and builders and entrepreneurs in the space, and educators like Coach. We see a massive need for education among not just cryptocurrency and what it is, but also the distinction between DeFi and CeFi, right? There's, I think, a lot of folks kind of lump all of crypto together into one bucket, but the reality is it's a very vast industry with a lot of different players and a lot of different spaces that I think warrants continual education.
Yep. I mean, I completely agree with you in terms of the education and the innovation that will. It really gets me all excited about what is going to happen next in this whole crypto space itself. Don't talk about 6 months. In a short span of past 3 months, how much have we evolved into already, right? Thank you so much for your thoughts about it, Chris. Last but not least, let's go to Coach. What are your thoughts on the current crypto market? The current crypto, because you are educated yourself, you are seeing ins and outs, you have the bird eye views about the whole crypto market presently. Let us know what's your thoughts about the crypto market.
Yeah, so you know what? 4 weeks ago, the narrative is, we hate crypto. Crypto is has no use case today, right? And 2 weeks thereafter, there's a narrative change, right? I think what has happened is obviously the liquidity issue that we have all seen across, the US and even in the UK today, particularly with Credit Suisse. It is proving the point that some folks has been very laser focused on some areas and not in all areas. I think we have been very much pivoted on focusing too much on the use case and not use case of crypto and blockchain, but we forget about the rising interest rates. In a span of 1 year for 2022, the interest rates rose 19 times, the highest since his history in the United States. That created a lot of big problems that I don't think we all know yet, because we're only hearing what the government wants us to hear, particularly about liquidity, solvency, and the interest rates. Hours from now, we're going to be hearing Fed talking about what's going to be the next step in terms of interest rates. It's going to be 25 bips or 0%. That's going to be monumental for us to kind of proceed and kind of chart down the next steps over the next couple of weeks and months to come for crypto. I think, though, that the current narrative about bank runs, liquidity issues from traditional finance, the CFIs, to Chris's point, I think that narrative, if it continues, it's only going to be very good for those risk-on assets, which include Bitcoin at this point. That in itself, from a pure technical perspective, I was encouraging my folks to start accumulating when Bitcoin was around 22,500, when the first noise about SVB came into the picture, and everyone else, I think, is happy at this point. But I'm forecasting a potential, if we break the psychological resistance of $30,000 for Bitcoin, I think we can potentially stay within that area, provided that we see that, well, two things. One, if we're going to see a 0% later on today coming from the Fed, we might see a potential rally on cyclicals, NASDAQ, for example, and even Bitcoin. If we see a 25 bips today, we might see a priced-in mindset from the market. Therefore, we might see a potential status quo in the price today. So what we're looking for is a catalyst. And I think that catalyst is if the narrative continues on the bank run, liquidity issues. Everyone, the Bank of Canada, the Bank of Japan right now created a liquidity pool that will support the entire banking system across the world. If that narrative continues, I think we're going to see ourselves 40,000 very soon, if not 50. Just a kind of point of comparison, to kind of wrap it up. Point of comparison, I think there's this one headline that came out most recently. They were saying that in 1 year, 90 days, Bitcoin's going to be $1 million. And I think it's absurd. I don't think it's true. I think it's the hype. I'm just being very honest here, right? I'm an influencer, but I'm not going to hype everyone.
Right.
But I think, though, that there's some half truth into it. I'm not sure for 1 million, but I think we're positively going forward a better price than today.
Thank you so much, Coach. I agree with you in that I'm bullish on Bitcoin too. So, yeah. Anyway, I think it's a common consensus that everyone here knows about the past thing that happened, like Singapore Valley Bank, Credit Suisse. Recently there is a lot of change in terms of the government regulations, in terms of development. In the Philippines itself, in Hong Kong, I think the latest one is in Hong Kong, where Stephen, you are based in now. How do you think government regulations will actually impact the crypto market? Like, do you think it's a need? Do you think it's a want? Or do you think it's necessary evil for Chris? Sorry, let's go with Stephen first. Then we go to Chris. Yeah, sorry, Stephen.
Well, I think regulatory development has been a major concern for the crypto industry. I mean, we have different countries taking different approaches to regulating cryptocurrency. I mean, with the banking collapses, I think everybody is looking into regulating, which could impact has a negative impact on the crypto market if that happens, because the cost, KYC and things like that on cashing out on various platforms, and how would you implement it and even enforce it? So it's a very complicated market, but again, you still need some sort of regulation to avoid money laundering, to combat fraud and but again, I think it defeats the purpose of having a DeFi industry. So but the upward the trend is that I think the market will be becoming more heavily regulated. I mean, Hong Kong government has, of course, I cannot speak on behalf of the government. But what happened in Hong Kong is they already have some sort of white papers on how they want to see the crypto market develop just before FTX crash. You have to remember, Sam was based in Hong Kong before he moved to the Bahamas. So the whole government is exploring and welcoming some sort of market for the Web3 industry and the development of the tech industry. However, I think with the banking crisis, it will definitely have some sort of impact and more scrutiny into the cryptocurrency.
Yep, agreed. I mean, like definitely more scrutiny, but it's either on the retail sector side or is it the B2B side, where the project parties, project owners will face out a lot of scrutiny. For one, I think we are all in the Southeast Asia region. Hong Kong is relatively new in terms of the regulations, but from what I know, in Indonesia itself, they are a bit more. They're scrutinized on the project that is working within Indonesia. Chris, what's your thought about it? Like about bubble tea, about AHP, because I know you are living in Bali, perhaps like to share with us if you have any insight about the local regulations.
Chris, you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
Excuse me. So my views, Manfred, are largely focused on more major markets globally, with respect to regulatory regimes and outlooks and approaches. And I think we've seen countries take different approaches in that regard. Some folks have taken an approach of doing the work of drafting potential regulation, proposing it to the industry, looking for comment. I think there's some productive efforts being made in the UK and in Europe in that regard. And then I think there are other countries that have taken a more lawmaking through enforcement approach, which creates quite a bit of anxiety and uncertainty, and I don't think is particularly beneficial to anyone involved, including individual investors that choose to partake in the industry. My personal view is it would be great for all countries to lean into adopting regulation in partnership with industry players and lobbying organizations and things of the sort. I think the Blockchain Association in the U.S. is a great organization that I think has put out a lot of thoughtful information. Similarly, the DeFi Education Fund is another group in the U.S. that I think is making some really strong headway on Capitol Hill, but it's proving to be very, very difficult. And I think some of it is the lack of education. Going back to our prior conversation, I think that if lawmakers were a little bit more educated on the technology side of blockchain innovation, as well as the difference between one example, right, a decentralized exchange versus a centralized exchange. I mean, we don't take custody of any client funds, right, as a automated market maker, and that's very different than the FTX model, right, which is I think a scenario that was obviously very unfortunate, but I think looking at that as a crypto problem, I don't think is quite fair. We've seen that type of fraud perpetrated throughout history with institutions that take custody of client funds. And so, yeah, I think it's certainly an ever evolving and difficult landscape at the moment on the regulatory side. I do think emerging markets that are diving into doing the work of actually drafting regulation and working with the industry are going to end up attracting much more capital from industry players than markets that don't. So, hopefully we'll continue to see positive trends in that regard.
Definitely. Agree with whatever you mentioned. I mean, the centralized exchange and the decentralized exchange custody, I mean, that's a whole different topic altogether, but I'd love to have that conversation with you one day. But nonetheless, like, I just want to hear your thought about this thing. Too much regulations, too little regulations. Where are we right now?
Yeah,
Yeah. So sorry, that was for Chris. Coach, I will get back to you. I'll come to you shortly. So sorry. Yeah.
Thanks, Manfred. So I think that at the moment we don't have enough clarity globally as to how to safely operate in the industry. And I use the word safely from the standpoint of complying with applicable laws in each jurisdiction. It's very difficult to operate when it appears to be an ever evolving regulatory landscape. So I think that my thought is that there isn't enough clear regulation. I don't think the appropriate response to that is to draft a bunch of regulation, right, and adopt a bunch of regulation. But I do think we need regulation that folks can clearly comply with and that serve the underlying purpose of protecting investors in a way that doesn't stymie or hinder growth. I think that is what everyone kind of agrees on, lawmakers, industry players, et cetera, is let's have a safe place for people to invest capital in a way that also allows growth, right? So I don't know, too little or too much necessarily. I don't know how to respond to that, but I do think that we need more pointed legislation, is what I would say, and there's a total void of that at the moment.
Thank you so much, Chris. So, Coach, after hearing Chris said so what's the take about your regulatory developments will impact the crypto industry? What's your take on it, Coach?
No, I just wanted to say first, I want to piggyback to what Chris mentioned about the regulation by enforcement of the SEC. I think it's kind of throwing a shade right now, at least from the people within the space. Obviously, because come to think about it, in the future, if you think about it, the hands of XRP right now is in the hands of one judge, right? Judge Torres. If she rules in that XRP is not a security, it's going to be rallying. And today we saw speculation happening, right? On the other side, a judge was actually reprimanding, in fact, rebuking SEC on the case of a bankruptcy discussion separate from the Judge Torres case. There's another case today that was being discussed about, are we going to consider Grayscale, a spot ETF, as a potential opportunity in the market in the States instead of just doing futures ETF? And obviously, it's a legal tussle today between Grayscale and the SEC. So in many fronts, SEC today is actually battling many organizations. To name a few, you have your Coinbase as well. You have XRP of the world, and you have different organizations today within SEC themselves. I saw that there was even a commotion within the SEC themselves that one of the commissioner was actually rebuking Chair Gensler about them enforcing through regulation by enforcement. So that in itself, I think what's happening is all of these uncertainties is giving a positive optics on what Bitcoin is all about. Come to think of it, everything that has happened, yes, you have your our FTX. If we kind of digest that even further, all of that were actually CEX as well. You know, they have their CEOs. But if you really look into the true blue, decentralized, store value, you know, auditable use case of Bitcoin, I mean, we rarely see issues with these types of topics, right? So I think I'm just reflecting and seeing, you know what, all of these are happening, and I'm happy because it's bringing the trust back to Bitcoin, and I think regulation today is something that has been pending for quite some time. 2021, I was on a live in my show, and I was talking about the infrastructure bill in the U.S. And senators were like, you know what? We plug in a $1 billion to save the world there. And those that were talking about, okay, why are you talking about putting tax in crypto mining in the States to the tune of 20 billion? And what's going to be the plan? And no one give any attention to it up until today, up until last month when the SBF issue came into the picture. So for me, I think there's too much people involved here. You have your CFTCs, you have your SECs, you have everyone else involved. From a U.S. perspective, and I keep on pointing into the U.S. because in my purview, everything that happens there becomes copy pasted in the Philippines, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? So they just copy paste, and whatever happens there, we'll just copy paste in the Philippines. And I think for the most part, everything that have happened today is good for me. And one thing I can tell you in my purview is that this need for regulation has been long time overdue. There's so many people in the kitchen today trying to regulate so many things, and it's impacting the very basic of control, affecting the banks. And last but not the least, whatever have happened today, for the past couple of months rather, I think it only made us realize that the people who truly believe what Web3 is, what NFT is, what blockchain is, are still in the system today. And these are the same people who are building, who are working together, talking about what's the use case. And I think those shilling before, people who are talking about, oh, you need to buy this coin, I think they're all gone. Because people who are in the space right now are the true believers of the coin up until Bitcoin was like $15,000. So.
Yeah, true believer or not, do you think for the whole market to actually propel forward right now, is there a need for institutional players to come aboard? So, yeah.
Absolutely. I think they're market makers for us. They're the ones who's going to give us volume. Well, Alameda is one of market maker, right? They're institutions, and unfortunately, they suffered the bad fate, right? So, I honestly think for us to see more liquidity in the cryptocurrency market, we need to see institutions joining in. However, I think one metric that I really like that was introduced most recently, although it's not perfect, is the proof of reserve. Right? So tell us what's happening. Well, proof of reserve, I'm sure Chris or Steven might agree. Proof of reserve shows to you your assets but not your liabilities, right? But at least you have a metric there that tells me, you know what? If something happens, I can tell you I'm liquid today, right? So I think for the most part, we need market makers, we need institutions to play. They're the whales, they're the bigger whales, they're the ones who are into the picture for the most part. But we need clarity on, are they over leveraging? Are they overexposing? How are they doing their leverages, right?
The coach, who should be the judge of that? Who should be the judge of how much they should be leveraging? Who should be the judge of, that's why you talk about proof of reserve also. But proof of reserve doesn't equate to, like you say, that number doesn't even mean anything. My liability could as far as my asset. So I mean, numbers that is being come out, but what is it supposed to be like in your own perspective as an educator yourself? Institutional investor is a must. How do we want to position them? What is the best way for them in terms of leveraging, as you mentioned? What is the amount? 100x, 200x?
No, I
Are we
think
making
there could be a lot of permutations available, right?
Yeah.
A lot of permutations. But I think at the end of the day, we need. This is 2020. I was giving recommendations to Binance. If you have a new trader, let's say 30 days, we should not give them 125x. It should only give them 5x. They're newbies, right? We need to kind of segment that market. But fast forward, I think we don't know what we don't know at this point. There's a lot of permutations on the leverages. But I think at this point, we just need to establish first the fundamentals or the basics of, you know what, number one, we just need to see how are you leveraging. So we could do a comparison of what's in the field today, right? Because I don't think we know right now, from a transparency perspective, what these CEX are doing from a leverage perspective. And I think, as I've said, these things that have happened today, I see it with a silver lining. It looks like it's allowing us to see what's needed in our space to become 100,000 worth Bitcoin in the future. Going back to market makers, we all need them, but we need to see transparency. After all, we are decentralized.
Yeah, agree. I mean, transparency is, I think, mostly the most important in terms of accountability also. In terms of when you're talking about, for us, Coinstore, we are centralized exchange. That's one of our mission and motto. So our principle is to be accountable for every user's money. So yeah, I completely agree. Thank you so much. That was a very insightful conversation. What about let's go back to Steven. So Steven, you are CEO of like a private plane, high luxury life stuff. Do you see the adoption of institutional into the crypto space coming the next 6 months, or do you think it'll be a slightly longer tenure from here?
I think it's definitely a longer term because it's not as simple as institutions are trying to bring him in. I mean, crypto has been around since 2005, even earlier than that. And we see institutions such as investment bank trading them, but not really using them on real life cases. So we are one of the first company in aviation to utilize Web3 blockchain technology and token and NFTs, as a loyalty program. To make Web3 relevant. The biggest problem with the Web3 and cryptocurrency is, for example, OFW sending money home to the Philippines. Yes, it saved them exchange rate. They don't have to pay 20, 30, 40, 50 US dollars to a bank for a simple transaction. So cryptocurrency makes sense. I mean, back to just add to the earlier point. Some sort of regulation is good, but then who should regulate? I mean, just look at the global geopolitical problem right now between China and US. China will say one thing, Russia will say one thing, America will say one thing. Then who do we follow? And if you're a politically exposed person, you won't be able to open a bank account anywhere in the world. Then that defeats the purpose of DeFi. What is DeFi? So what I'm proposing, and I saw there are some discussion on the market is have a DeFi court, then have jury. In Hong Kong or in the UK, you have a jury who judge. It's not a rule of man. You have a jury who judge. Okay, if this is a fraudulent transaction, if it is, we'll reverse the transaction. We'll find some people who have experience who can be guardian or custodian of the Web3 space. And dispute things such as token theft and an issue like that. So that would be a better way to deal with instead of regulating market. And for example, if Coinstore have to get a license in Singapore, and then what? Do you have to get a license in 190 United Nations country just to operate? It's a never-ending story. And the loser will not be Coinstore. It will be me and you, the everyday Joe who's trading in the market, because there will be higher red tape, there will be higher costs, and of course, it will cause problem for everybody. You have to do KYC. After you've done the KYC, then there are a lot of compliances, such as AML, anti-money laundering. So. Yep. It's never ending with regulation, and every single government has been trying to regulate this. Why did they want to regulate it? Because they can tax it.
Yep.
That's it. That's why they want to regulate it. Of course, there are fraud, but there is fraud everywhere. There's no pyramid scheme in real world. So ultimately, everybody have to be educated and be a smart investors. And in terms of institutional adoption, that will build trust. And but again, even bank go bust. Look at Credit Suisse. The CEO said that the Bitcoin is a pyramid scheme. His company, one of the oldest banking institute in the world, has gone bust and got taken over by UBS. You know what? Investors just need to don't put all your egg in one basket,
Yep.
and diversify your risk and be educated. And most importantly, don't bet more than you can bet.
Yep. Thank you so much. Insightful. Definitely agree. Like, it's impossible to get all 190 licenses all around the world for any project, or not even so for the exchange itself. So in terms of regulation, how much regulations, where is needed, why is it needed, and are we actually really looking at it? The institutional, guys, that's some my time to share. I talked to some institutional investors. They require an exchange to have license. Right. It was something that like a red tape for them. But to me, I was thinking, I might not be compliant in, for example, Singapore, right? If I'm not licensed in Singapore, but you require me to get licensed in Singapore, but you are in, for example, Indonesia. So I mean, cross-border jurisdiction doesn't really work. I agree with Chris. We should have like an international crypto body. I mean, that would sound fun, right? International crypto law court and all. But then again, another school, another side of the party will say that, hey, but we're supposed to be decentralized, right? So we shouldn't have any governance and stuff. But what? So, Chris, in the institutional investors, do you think that will be the catalyst moving forward, like to break up of this norm, or like not say norm, in terms of institutional will come in to actually create more innovations, like pump huge money into? Do you think they are looking into the Web3 side, or are they still at the Web2 transition work?
Yeah, I think it's Manfred a difficult question to predict institutional adoption. I think a year ago it seemed like there were a lot of positive trends in that regard, but the last 11 months have presented a lot of challenges to our industry. I think that institutional capital, depending on their investors, right? Everyone, it all flows upstream. So if you're an institution and your limited partners or your investors are pensions, say, or sovereign funds, they will require you to be investing their capital in certain ways. One of those tends to require some form of KYC, and so I think that I hear a lot of people talk about wanting to attract institutional capital in one breath, and then in another breath I hear people talk about not thinking KYC will defeat the purpose of DeFi, to quote Stephen. But I think that it's difficult because it's kind of like institutions have certain requirements that they need to meet, which involve principally KYC to comply with anti-money laundering laws in their home jurisdictions. And so I think as an industry, we need to decide which direction we want to embrace. And look, I think that there's also there's a space within the industry for all actors as well. So don't think it all needs to be mutually exclusive, this or that. But I do think to get real institutions into the space, there will need to be regulations passed that people can actually begin to comply with, and there needs to be solutions to, our KYC problem. I don't necessarily subscribe to the view that it's an impossible problem to solve. I think that that people are building a lot of amazing technology, and so my hope is we'll start to see some of that technology allow us to, in a way that does secure privacy, but also ensure that platforms aren't facilitating funding of actors that none of us want to be funding, facilitating the funding of, right? Yeah, I think it's my personal view. I know your question's kind of like, is there a 6-month horizon for? I don't think so. I think it's a long horizon for real institutions actually investing in the space. I think you'll see everybody begin to have an increasing percentage of their portfolio dedicated to BTC or ETH, but for folks to actually start to invest in a meaningful way, I think is quite a ways off.
Lines, thank you so much for the insight, Chris. Just quick question, Coach, just want to pick a brain about this thing, DEX versus SEX, right? I mean, I think, Coach, I think a lot of people have been asking you, so what's the difference between a decentralized exchange and a centralized exchange? What's in your opinion, how will these two platforms, centralized exchange and the other side of the spectrum, the decentralized exchange, how will it impact the crypto industry as a whole? Where do you think we are headed to now?
I think it presents enormous opportunity for everyone if they realize the value of a decentralized exchange, particularly on the tokenomics of any project. I think what I saw over the past year, and even on the 2021 bull run, is there's a lot of projects that created very bad optics to DeFi. I've seen a lot of projects, even here in the Philippines, that that created tokens that were very inflationary, quote unquote Ponzi scheme, high rewards just for them to stake their coins. And I keep on asking the question, what's the utility? What's the what's the utility of the coin? It kind of boils down to that. And people don't see or doesn't realize that the way that the token is designed can dictate whether A, are you going to be taxed every time you buy or sell? B, are you going to receive rewards tokens by how many percent? Where are they getting that? And I think that's kind of where the education needs to really be. We need to step on the gas here from an education perspective. Unfortunately, people can see value on CEX today simply because 2021, 2022, companies were promoting Super Bowl commercials just to promote their platform. People were buying stadiums, naming stadiums in their name, etc. So there's a lot of hype that has happened to obviously drive home the message that we are an alternative. We are an opportunity for you to create a way to earn money through yield from those that are unbanked, or a potential to diversify your current assets in the traditional space. So, I'll be very honest, at least on the purview that I have today, I have around 300,000 folks within my community. And I see a lot of people are still putting their stakes high on some of the new projects on DeFi. And there's still a lot of people who are also looking for a way to also diversify and obviously put aside their assets. Are they going to be putting it in one platform, CEX alone? Or are we going to be diversifying it? Case in point, a couple of issues have been hitting Binance for the past couple of months. Stable coins potentially depegging, etc. Coinbase issues, and even Circle issues on USDC. So, and whenever news comes into the picture and it talks about issues in crypto, what normally comes out are CEXs, right? So if you're going to be asking me, I have a half audience today. Some of them are obviously putting some of their investments, kind of understanding what are the projects out there that could give them yields, good projects in DeFi perspective. Some of them obviously are wearing their investor hat. Where can I put my money? Where can I stake from a CEX perspective? Goes back to my point earlier. People are asking me, can I stake Solana? Can I stake Cardano? Right? And where do I stake them? Do I stake them in this? Do I stake them in this platform? All of those questions come out simply because there's a lot of people who are still scared right now, simply because 4 months ago we have had this big issue on a CEX, right? So I think that's the optics today, and it's giving me a job to educate, right, people, and it's what's keeping me in the business.
Right. So, well, I mean, just to name someone, the last 6,000 APY. Those are the massive, crazy stuff where people are actually rushing. But do you think it's lacking education, or do you think it's just a greed factor?
It's I hope that I hope we kind of get out of this cycle, right? Because we wanted to educate, but people who are inside are unfortunately adding to the burden of creating bad optics to what blockchain use case is. Here in the Philippines, matter of fact, I'm talking to a former Solicitor General at the end of the month in my show, and he created a book. He wrote a book about Bitcoin, and I'm very happy that he did a book about Bitcoin. And it tells me that there's obviously adoption there, right, from someone who used to be in the government, a very legal genius in our country. Last 4 months,
and Coach, that's Solicitor General of the Philippines.
That's right, Florine Holbach, our former Solicitor General, right? 4 months ago, we were a part of the Blockchain Philippines Week, and sort of the I would not say a mandate, but the expectation for this group formed by very awesome individuals in Web3 space, blockchain, etc., to kind of become the neutralizer of any potential bad actors. Because right now in the Philippines, to be honest, I've been looking for someone that will, say, this is not good, right? And no one is doing that yet, up until, we need to put this institution of people in the inside to kind of help, right? So I think step on the right direction. We have a Philippines Blockchain Week finally in the Philippines 4 months ago after COVID, right? And happening again this coming September. Our central bank is actually partnering with our premier university in the Philippines, the University of the Philippines, to come up with a potential implementing rules and regulations if and when we implement cryptocurrency, not just as a means of payment, but a potential other use case as well. Because right now it's just being used as a payment means. It's not being endorsed right now by our central banks in the Philippines. So I think step in the right direction there, and really hopeful that we're going to,
Yep. Thank you so much, Coach, for your insight about the Philippines and where it's heading to. Definitely agree. Step to the right direction. We are actually heading to the right path. Steven, so sorry, something that really caught my ear just now. You say you bought Bitcoin at $100 back then.
No comment.
No, that's so. Wait, do you think Bitcoin will actually evolve and dominate the market still, or still deemed as the mother of all crypto?
Not quite. I mean, can you say US dollars is the most dominant currency in the world? Yes, but then you also have other currency from 190 other countries. So it's still a dominating currency, but again, there are different currency for different use cases. And just sitting here, I'm thinking a huge opportunity actually. If you put your money in a US bank, the US government will guarantee up to, I think, $250,000 worth of currency. Actually, of your savings protected. So if the bank go bust, then you get a guaranteed deposit scheme. If a country actually implement regulation like that to protect, if a exchange is regulated, and then they guarantee up to a certain amount, that would really facilitate and help the trust and confidence in the market. And and I think it's a huge opportunity as well for the regulators, for any government of sort, because then it'll become a taxable thing. But again, we've got two party here. One's against regulation and one is for regulation. I'm in between. I really don't have a very strong opinion on that. But I think from where it's going, a country around the world will be regulating cryptocurrency, and how will it impact the market, and how will it impact the overall trend and growth of the cryptocurrency. I think it will continue to grow no matter what, because as Coach and Chris said, the early adapter will continue to stay, and the market will continue to dominate, and developers are continuing to build good products and services to serve the community, from gaming to DeFi to a lot of opportunities within the Web3 space. So I think the most important message here is just get yourself educated and have awareness of the project and benefit and the risks with whether cryptocurrency or any project that you're investing in.
Yep. Thank you so much for your insight. You literally gave us the whole insight of what's to expect from investors and what so. But I really appreciate comment from a CEO like yourself, running such a big enterprise, giving insight about Bitcoin and stuff. And something that really caught my ear just now also, from what Coach mentioned, is actually the trajectory of Bitcoin is going up to how much you were saying, 1 million, right? Just now, right?
Not me. Someone said 1 million.
Yeah, I would say yeah. Amen to that though.
Yeah.
So, but do you foresee like what I mentioned, us Stephen just now? Do you still see that Bitcoin will be the mother of all crypto? Do you think it will still have the significant influence over when Bitcoin rise, everyone rise? When Bitcoin fall, everyone fall? Do you think Bitcoin holds such significant influence over other crypto tokens?
Is that for me? Sorry, man.
Yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
it's for you. Do you think that the Bitcoin actually holds significant influence over the crypto market still?
I think so. Obviously, it's still a capped supply of 21 million. A lot of institutions are holding the coin today. Last time I heard of an issue about Bitcoin was, the reason why Taproot was put into place on December 2021. After that, there's no issue at all about Bitcoin. I think the only thing that's kind of missing in the puzzle right now is that people who are mining Bitcoin is obviously still not, getting the profit that they would love to, simply because, the price of the coin is still very low today. So I honestly believe, I'm a hodler of Bitcoin and I teach the value of Bitcoin. It's fully auditable. It's transparent. It's open source. I think it's just solving what the problems right now of the traditional companies are. Going back to my statement earlier, sometimes you just wonder and ask yourself, how come no one saw the liquidity issue coming when the banks buying in 2020 treasuries that are devalued today, and people didn't see that coming. It kind of makes you wonder what else is out there that we did not know. And it kind of goes back to the point of Bitcoin, where it's open source. You could see the wallet, who has it, and if you look into the on-chain analytics, for the past 6 months, people are not moving their Bitcoin today. And if you are a new user of Bitcoin and you bought it on January 2023, you already have earned almost 50% up of your capital, right? So, I think it will continue to be dominant coin at this point. I see some value on Ethereum, obviously with the Shanghai hard fork coming in this April 12th, particularly on the reduction of the gas fees. But I think Bitcoin is going to be out there as a dominant coin.
Right. Agreed. Thank you so. Like I mean, like diversifying, understanding the risk, reward, exposure, and education. This is something that my key takeaway from this whole conversation with you guys. I mean, like lastly, like I mean, the very last questions that the last question I do have. Like now, everyone is skeptic about the market. Right? Like we are hearing continuously a lot of major events that happened last year. Three arrows from three arrows to Luna to FTX. Then this year we started off with USDC depacking. But in your own opinion, if someone comes to you and say, I don't believe in Web3, right? What will your common response be to them? Like Steven, like share me. Like I don't believe in Web3, but what's a common response to them?
So actually, what my company is doing is mixing the virtual world and the real world together. So we started off during COVID. I used to be an airline pilot, and during COVID, I lost my job, and I started a private jet company that shuffle people, and instead of booking the whole jet, we sell individual seats. And of course, we're now with the airline industry going out back up, but we usually just serve the billionaires and the really ultra high net worth millionaires within the Greater Bay Area and Southeast Asia. So we have a huge presence in Manila with a helicopter tour and in Indonesia. And now instead of issuing tickets, we put the ticketing on chain on token. So we're already taking step for customers don't know that they're already they're already immersing themselves into the Web3 space. And now you go to the mall, there will be a loyalty card, the supermarket, another loyalty card at the mall. Now we are creating a loyalty card for our existing customers and new customers as a form of NFT. So they won't have 10 million different cards, loyalty cards, and then and then they're able to earn rewards, and through the rewards, we're basically giving a dormant asset. So we have 1.32 billion worth of asset, bookable asset under management, and what we do is basically when they're sitting on the ground, we give it back to our members and the NFT holders. So whether it's a private jet, you can book it for $2,000 for a helicopter ride, you can book it for $90, and you can rent Lamborghini or Ferrari for 15-20 minutes for $50. So we're trying to make use of existing asset in the real world and trying to give value to them on the virtual world through holding NFT. Because in the beginning of all the NFT, a picture of a monkey can fetch you hundreds of thousands of US dollars. Now we're trying to build a utility NFT to do that, and on top of that, we're already working with partners such as the biggest the biggest European airline in the world to make that a reality, so that from in the near future you can use their miles and convert it into a cryptocurrency of some sort, and then have real world use case. And it's not just a virtual world thing that you can only see on your computer. You can actually utilize those and turn those into experiences. So again, we are at the ICQ and MySpace age of the Web2 equivalent of Web3. So we still have a very long way to go. And same with VR. There was hype. I have an Oculus at home that I don't use. It's a huge hype, but eventually I think there will be more real use cases. One use cases that I talked about is, for example, in the Philippines, OFW, they can send their money back home to the relative instantly without all they need is gas fee. And you're not going through banking, you're not going to TT, a wire transfer where you wait 5 or 7 days for the money to go in, and they're not asking you so many questions, and you instantly get your money. So this is the future of Web3 now, especially with the advent of ChatGPT. People with no coding experience, they can suddenly write a smart contract and things like that. But again, I think this is a turning point for the Web3 industry. Is how far is the regulator willing to regulate? The second thing is if once the institutional investors and the big corporations start using NFTs token in their everyday business, I mean, think of the whole Web3 space as a startup. How do you go to market right now for a grandma? You tell them, okay, I'm going to send you some cryptocurrency. So you need to go and get a MetaMask wallet, and then you need to go on the crypto exchange to get your money out. They won't have a bloody clue how to do that, right? A lot of people investing in crypto, they just want to make quick money. They're not like me, who held NFT Bitcoin since 2005, where it cost $100 US dollars to buy a Bitcoin. So for the early adapter, they will continue to stay and continue to develop the market and things like that. But to expand the market, how can we, as a community, go out there and have various products so that you can reach out to more people, make it more easier? So, for example, to register a crypto wallet is as easy as registering a email address on Google.
Yep.
If someone in the market can come up with that, that would be the next $1 billion question.
Indeed, it just gave me a billion dollar idea. Yeah, thank you so much for that sharing and great advertisement. But guys, really want you guys to check the Harm Mouse Club and Seaplane group. What about good? Coming back to you, Chris. Right. So now everyone is skeptical about the crypto market. How are you going to change the mindset of the community? What do you think is what do you think is the mental blockage here for the whole crypto community, Chris?
Yeah, I think that, look, the quickest thing to change minds is another bull market. But I think that education, to coach, efforts like coaches are extremely important. I think that there are a lot of stereotypes or assumptions of what crypto is that are actually misplaced. And I think to be able to point to real world examples like Steven's of being able to quickly and efficiently send money back to your family in XYZ country, I think is a real use case that exists today. I think as tech becomes easier in that regard, it'll be more apparent to people the value add that is possible with blockchain technology. I also think you're starting to see governments, not just large privately held businesses or public businesses, adopting blockchain technology. The state of California recently announced they're going to experiment putting people's driver's license information. So the Bureau of Motor Vehicles for the state of California is going to put that on chain because they see value in the ability to store and retrieve on an efficient basis, millions of people's driver's license history, et cetera. So I think as those use cases start to be rolled out, making this argument will inherently become easier. But more so, I think education is just very critical. We at Orca have donated over $1 million to Afluton, and a nonprofit focused on education globally, and they're creating a pilot program with us to educate developing countries on the benefits of crypto and the underlying technology, and blockchain more broadly. So I think to the extent that industry leaders can continue to contribute to education efforts, I think the better. I think it'll be better for us. It'll be better for retail users as well.
Thank you so much. Yep, I agree. Time will tell. Then when there's more use case, more utility, when there is actually relatable. I think that's the word that I was searching for. More relatable, people could relate to it in the day to day. Then definitely mindset will definitely be changed. What about you, coach? You actually have 300 plus thousand community, right? For that to expand to 600 plus thousand, I believe it's just an overnight thing. But now, what do you think the major hindrance in terms of the mindset for the masses will be for now?
Right. So for the Philippines alone, the last time I checked, only 6% have crypto. That tells me a good 90+% still are not aware. The introduction that they got from crypto is with the advent of Axie. And for me, it was a backdoor entry because they've understood crypto from an NFT play to earn perspective. And it's very isolated to NFT as a use case. When I was a child, my mom asked me, "What do you want to become when you get older?" And I said, "I want to be a lawyer, but I want to be a doctor, and I want to be a teacher." Right? And I ended up teaching accounting and business courses, and I fell in love with teaching, and I've been teaching since for past 2 decades. Um, I think this education piece is what's giving me job, and I'm enjoying it. But kidding aside, there's a lot more. I think we need to do these types of conversations. Thank you for you guys in Coinstore for taking lead on this. This is adding value to many people who are not yet aware. I remember sometime 2 years ago, my mom asked me, where can I buy Bitcoin? How big is a Bitcoin? And I think she was talking about something she can hold and touch by her hand. And I said, you know what? It's a digital computer programmed currency. And she was stunned and she was like, oh, I did not know that. So I think we owe it to even our kids, to everyone, to obviously even our very own family to educate what Bitcoin is. Unfortunately, because it is a source of capital, income, money, whenever you put money, it becomes a potential source of greed. Many people will potentially muddle the waters and just confuse everyone. And I think it's not adding value. I see Bitcoin. Well, ARK Invest forecasted Bitcoin on a bull case at 1.4 million. Their bear case was, I think that was 200,000. I still think we're talking about 6 digits Bitcoin very soon. I just don't want to hype the community about it. But I think what's important is we stay laser focused on education. And I'm in that business today. I have 1,000 videos in my YouTube channel today. I have a playlist all for free. There are a lot of free videos in my channel today where people can learn what is blockchain, how can you create a MetaMask, how do you create an account here, step by step. It's really giving them in a silver platter, right? And I appreciate that YouTube, Facebook is giving me the platform as from an algorithm perspective to reach out to many more people who got bored in the stock market and kind of saw an opportunity in crypto, in blockchain. And obviously, I think it would not be done just by one person. So we need to keep on doing this. And we need to keep on talking about building these conversations regardless of any issues. Because at the end of the day, we're going to be the ones to be asked, what's happening? What's your opinion? And if I could just also say this, that, and I think there's a lot of people watching as well, coming from my community. It's always important for me to call out what's wrong in my show. I'm the first one that will tell my community that's wrong. I don't think that's the right thing to do. And I think we need to do that. That's not because we wanted to see views, not because we wanted to see people following us, but we owe to them that we're not here to hype them, but to teach them.
Yep. Thank you so much for staying true to the education. But right, like what is right is right, what is wrong. There's no two ways about it. Black and white. We need to know where's the difference. Where do we stand? Thank you so much for sharing so much, guys. I really appreciate this whole an hour with you guys. I learned a lot from you guys, and from regulations to education to KYC to so on and so forth. But before we end this whole show, perhaps we could take some time to mind me asking Stephen, interested in purchasing your NFT to be part of the Seaplane group and stuff, where do I find it? How do I find it? And where do I go? So you're new.
Yeah, so we will have a project to be announced, hopefully, with you guys on Coinstore Exchange. We're still working on the few details, but watch this space. So make sure we follow all the Instagram, the Twitter, YouTube of Coinstore Exchange. But also they can also have a look at mhrc.io. It's called the My High Roller Club. And this is truly the beginning of something, especially for a ultra luxury company going into the Web3 space. You know, we're very excited, and some of our customers are very excited as well in merging the virtual world and real world. I mean, our assets are sitting on the ground. So they're ready to be deployed. I mean, if you look at the helicopters, we're already doing the helicopter ride in Metro Manila in the Philippines for $70 with our company. So you know, I truly believe that the Web3 space will bring a lot of opportunity for people to get involved in fun and exciting project like that, and we will see more and more utility NFT or projects that will bring real benefit to the community. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Anyway, like guys, stay tuned. Steven will actually have some major news about Seaplane Group also with Coinstore, and there will be description below on the YouTube side. So feel free to click there and join. Come to you, Chris. Give a big shout out to Orca.
Hi, yeah. Thanks, Manfred, and thanks for organizing this. It's been great joining Steven and Coach and having the opportunity to share a few thoughts. Orca is a decentralized exchange, as I mentioned earlier, on the Solana ecosystem. Our UI is orca.so. Folks can access our UI there. We also have an underlying smart contract that facilitates swaps and liquidity provision of SPL tokens more broadly. So we encourage builders and others to check out our ecosystem. We think it's a nice Lego block, if you will, for building out your own UIs and also supporting Gamify. All sorts of different platforms over the years have used us, including StepN, and some other more notable projects. So thanks again, Manfred.
Okay, but last but not least, time outcome. You have a very big community in Philippines. And Philippines is definitely one of the rising star in Southeast Asia market. So anyway, take this platform to actually share more about what you do and what's your community about.
Thank you so much. I would like to say maraming salamat. That's a Filipino word that says thank you very much to all of you. I'm in a business of education. Our students are everywhere in the world. My learning management system is actually based in a website. I do have a couple of things in the pipeline. My community is aware of this. I'm very busy building my Learn to Earn quite soon using our own coin. We're still working on all of the ramifications of it. And obviously, I do have live every day in my YouTube channel, in Binance Live as well. I'm the top 24 Binance streamer today in the whole world, and we do have a very good captive audience of people who are into the space. I also do invite a couple of companies and tokens that would like to kind of share their use case to the community through my AMA sessions in my community. And just going back to what my passion is, I did start this humble profession by going out there in community groups and helping solve, questions from community group members. And I thought that I cannot do it by myself, so I used the platform to expand my reach. And with a total of 1,000 videos today, with an average views of 5 million already, I was able to create a megaphone through the algorithm of YouTube and Facebook to reach out to many people today. I don't think we are done. I think everything that's happening today is something that we could pick opportunities on from an education perspective. And thank you very much for allowing us to sit here together with awesome gentlemen, Stephen and Chris. It's very privileged to sit down here, and looking forward to get to know your businesses as well in the near future. And thank you very much, Coinstore.
Thank you so much, guys. Anyway, last but not least, thank you so much to the audiences to actually spend the whole night with us, the 1 hour 15 minutes. We really appreciate that. Looking forward for more fireside chat. We'll definitely this is our very first fireside chat for Coinstore, but definitely it's not our last. Anyway, thank you so much, gentlemen. With that, let's just call the night, and good night, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.